After what I can only assume Ryan Reynolds thought was a triumphant appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, he must not have loved seeing Colin Jost come back to Saturday Night Live last night with a joke at his wife Blake Lively's expense.
Now you might be wondering, who holds a personal grudge against this disastrous couple? Well, let me tell you, it's none other than Scarlett Johansson's husband. Yes, Scarlett, the ex-wife of Ryan Reynolds.
He was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justinbaldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
February 2025, SNL's 50th anniversary special, a night that is meant to celebrate 5 decades of comedy, somehow turned into a public execution of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' reputations.
Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost came back live and clearly made a joke at Blake Lively.
And let's be honest, this was long overdue. They walked into that studio acting like they still had an ounce of credibility, as if the entire world hadn't spent the past few months watching their $400 million lawsuit unravel like a flaming garbage truck careening downhill.
You're poking fun at it. So now it's just a big joke? This whole thing's a joke? This is absolute cringeworthy, and they shouldn't be ashamed.
Everything was fine until Tina Fey and Amy Poehler tossed him the simplest, most harmless question imaginable, the softest softball in the game. "How's it going, Ryan?" And instead of just smiling and nodding like a normal person, he smirked and delivered the dumbest, most self-sabotaging line in history.
Did they rewrite the SNL scripts too? Terrible humans.
And just like that, the entire room shifted. The laughs that followed? Not real laughs. These were the nervous, secondhand embarrassment kind, the type where people don't know whether to actually laugh or just pretend they didn't hear it. Steven Spielberg looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Amy Poehler gave a blink-and-you'll-miss-it smirk, and the only person completely silent? Blake Lively.
How's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
She turned to him with a look so sharp it could cut glass, because she knew the second that dumb joke left his mouth, every single person in that audience was thinking about the lawsuit.
They chose to make the butt of the joke on her, not on him.
Ryan and Blake hadn't made a single public appearance since Justinbaldoni dropped that lawsuit on them like a nuclear bomb, and instead of lying low, doing damage control, or maybe just not reminding people they even exist, they strutted into SNL like royalty, thinking they could charm their way out of this mess, a delusion at its finest. But oh, how quickly that smoke screen shattered.
Laughs, a little uncomfortable from Anna Taylor, and then Kevin Costner just didn't react at all.
Because here's the thing, Hollywood had already moved on. The industry was done pretending these two were some kind of golden couple, and the second they stepped into that SNL studio, the audience knew exactly what was coming. Blake had spent months trying to rewrite reality, spinning the most Oscar-worthy victim story possible. But Ryan? Ryan was about to ruin it all in one of the most embarrassing live TV moments of his career.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively make their first public appearance at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary. They made a joke about it all.
But it gets worse. While Ryan was out there burning his career in real time, SNL had something even more brutal lined up for Blake. Enter Colin Jost. And this wasn't just any joke. This was Scarlett Johansson's husband, a man with every reason to despise Ryan Reynolds, delivering ultimate revenge in front of millions. His delivery? Cold, calculated, and absolutely lethal.
I had to being there, which makes me realize and think this was all orchestrated and planned. This was his WME and people getting in and giving Lauren Michaels and Saturday Night Live sort of the opportunity to get them there first, to sort of address it.
That was a death blow. Let's break this down. The joke wasn't just about Baldoni. It was about Blake. It made her the punchline, confirmed what everyone already knew, and showed that Hollywood wants nothing to do with her. You could literally feel it in the room.
He was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justinbaldoni saying, "I'd love to work with Blake again."
The audience went silent for a moment. That split-second hesitation before the laugh was everyone processing the sheer brutality of that line. Even Colin Jost knew what he had just done. He laughed before finishing the sentence because he knew this joke was going to explode. And explode it did, because that moment sealed Blake Lively's fate.
It was SNL playing its cards of, yeah, they're clearly they know Blake Lively is crazy. And given the appearance, she's going to have this same reaction of, wait a second, why are you making fun of me? I thought you had our back, Sarah Live. What's going on?
Ryan thought he was being clever, thought he was being Deadpool-level funny, but all he did was set himself up for Colin Jost to land the final blow. And just like that, Blake Lively's PR house of cards collapsed because this wasn't a harmless little roast. It was a message straight from Hollywood itself.
Look at Colin's face! Because again, Colin is now married to Scarlett Johansson, who Ryan Reynolds allegedly, the rumors are, cheated on her with Blake Lively.
They don't respect her, they don't take her seriously, and they're no longer buying her victim narrative. And just like that, in one disastrous night, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively went from Hollywood royalty to industry-wide punchlines for years. Blake Lively sold the world a polished, airbrushed, perfectly packaged fantasy. She was the Hollywood sweetheart, the effortlessly charming A-lister, the feminist darling who could do no wrong.
Like, why? Was there something wrong? Yeah, clearly, guys, the joke didn't hit.
She had every journalist eating out of her hand, every red carpet appearance meticulously crafted, and every interview dripping with staged humility. But when 2024 came knocking, reality bulldozed right through the PR fairy tale. Because guess what? Hollywood finally got tired of pretending.
And more honest, but it's nice to at least see them admit, yeah, no, Justin Baldoni's never working with Blake Lively again. And notice, this joke could have been the other way around. That's like Blake Lively saying, yeah, I want to work with Justin again. They chose to make the butt of the joke on her, not on him.
But let's be real, Ryan Reynolds doesn't know how to shut up. If he had an ounce of self-awareness, he would have let the joke die. Instead, he doubled down because this is the same man who thought it would be brilliant to use Deadpool and Wolverine to throw petty jabs at Baldoni when the lawsuit first began. And that, my friends, brings us to Ryan's first major PR disaster, the Deadpool meltdown.
He's never hosted. He appeared once as a guest star, but the fact that they're there to me on this show of all shows felt very full.
Back in December 2024, when the lawsuit was still fresh out of the oven, Ryan could have handled things like an adult, let his overpaid lawyers deal with it. But no. Instead of doing the smart thing, he did the most Ryan Reynolds thing possible. He turned Baldoni into a Deadpool joke, a whole character he created. Nice Pool, a soft-spoken, over-the-top feminist, cringeworthy male ally with zero substance.
Deadpool Wolverine? You used Deadpool Wolverine to, mock this guy in the film that your wife disagreed with and didn't get along with? It's so hard to process.
You don't need to be a genius to see who he was mocking. Oh, and just to really drive the point home, he threw in a pregnancy-related jab, because apparently mocking Baldoni's activism on reproductive rights is peak comedy in Ryan Reynolds' brain.
Used his Nice Pool character in Deadpool and Wolverine to mock Justin Baldoni.
Baldoni's team spotted it immediately. They saw right through it. And the public didn't take it well either, because nothing says, I'm a mature, responsible Hollywood star, like using your $300 million superhero movie to throw a tantrum disguised as satire. Now, months later, Ryan was doing it again, but this time, it wasn't a carefully scripted Hollywood production. This time, it was live in front of millions of people, and Blake Lively was sitting right there.
No question that, yes, Ryan Reynolds based his Deadpool Wolverine character, Nice Pool, with the man bun, on Justin Baldoni.
And let's take a moment to appreciate the irony of it all. Blake spent months crafting this perfect PR story about being a wronged woman fighting against a manipulative director. She hired an ex-CIA fixer, planted stories, and tried to flip the narrative. But in the end, all that effort couldn't save her.
It's absurd that they were going on this level.
And then her own husband, the one person who was supposed to help her keep this charade together, went on live TV and turned their entire legal scandal into a joke. When the lawsuit hit, people started talking. Not just fans, not just gossip blogs, but actual Hollywood insiders, people who had worked with her, people who had to survive the nightmare of being in her orbit. Suddenly, the carefully controlled Blake Lively brand started looking a whole lot different.
Reynolds have hired former CIA agents with a proven track record of lying to the public, gaslighting the public.
Over 50 crew members from It Ends With Us came forward, and let's just say the reviews were far from glowing. Instead of the sweet, lovable leading lady she had spent years pretending to be, they described a controlling, manipulative, power-obsessed monster who treated people like disposable props in her personal empire.
Lawyer's dumb. Like, what's happening? Why do they keep making these mistakes and fumbling the ball? Like,
Crew members were literally forbidden from making eye contact with her. Let that sink in. No eye contact. No speaking to her unless absolutely necessary. Imagine being so entitled that someone looking at you is considered a privilege. This wasn't A-list behavior. This was dictator-level lunacy.
I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
And then there were the journalists. For years, they played along, letting Blake shape whatever glossy, picture-perfect narrative she wanted. But once the lawsuit exposed the cracks, suddenly they weren't so eager to keep up the charade.
You're a despicable and a massive hypocrite.
And that's when Blake really started unraveling. Enter one of the biggest PR disasters of 2024, the Kirsty Flahaven interview. Now, if you thought Blake Lively was good at faking her way through interviews, this one proved otherwise. In July 2024, during what was supposed to be a harmless little press tour moment, Blake let her real personality slip, and the internet never forgot.
Rude, and I think that in her modern feminist mind, she thinks that when she's being rude, she's taking a stance for women, and she's not.
Kirsty, being a normal, polite human being, congratulated Blake on her pregnancy. Pretty standard, nothing controversial, just a simple, supportive remark. And Blake decided to turn it into a personal attack.
Ironically, she's trying her hardest in that interview not to be a woman when she's asked that question, like, you can't ask me about pregnancy, you can't.
She shot back, congrats on yours. One tiny problem, Kirsty Flahaven wasn't pregnant. Even worse, she had spoken publicly about her struggles with infertility. And just like that, Blake Lively managed to create one of the most disgusting, heartless, and tone-deaf viral moments of the year.
And Kirsty just wanted to ask Blake Lively a question about, first and foremost, Blake Lively was pregnant while she was filming this. So she opens up with just like a nice compliment about her cute.
Because this wasn't some accidental slip-up. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was Blake choosing, in real time, to humiliate someone on camera for no reason other than her own inflated ego. The internet exploded. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Every platform turned into a Blake Lively hate parade.
So congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
They are kind of bumps, aren't they?
And this wasn't the usual celebrity backlash. This wasn't people getting upset over a dumb joke or a controversial tweet. This was Blake showing the world exactly who she really was. Her feminist icon card? Revoked. Her America's sweetheart status?
Gone.
Her entire career? Hanging by a thread.
Porter did not have a baby bump. She wasn't pregnant. And apparently it had a history of difficulty in getting pregnant, which is why generally you just stay far away for something like that.
Because here's the thing about Hollywood. They'll cover for you as long as you're useful. But once your reputation becomes a liability, they'll throw you under the bus so fast you won't even see it coming. And Blake Lively? She was officially Hollywood's newest PR disaster. But did she own up to it? Did she apologize? Did she do anything to take accountability? Of course not.
Evidence, and Blake has provided none. No concrete evidence, just like the mountains and mountains that Elaine said during the Amber trial. No, you can't just say it happened and then we have to believe you, bro. It doesn't work. There's no trust us, bro, in this kind of situation.
Instead, she did what every power-hungry, image-obsessed celebrity does when things start falling apart. She went straight to the crisis PR playbook. After months of spiraling, getting destroyed in the media, and realizing people weren't buying her victim act anymore, she called in the biggest, shadiest, most powerful fixer she could find.
He kind of like, oh, why are you asking me about my bump? Like, how dare you do that? As if this woman meant any harm in it. Just like she looks cute, she has a bump. But, this was in 2016. I would say that modern feminism peaked in 2016. Like, women were just doing things.
Enter Nick Shapiro, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, let's spell it out, because this isn't just some random PR guy. This is a former CIA official, a man who worked in Democratic administrations under Obama and Biden, and someone critics have publicly linked to high-profile media controversies, including debates around the Hunter Biden laptop story. which is why his involvement instantly raised eyebrows and fueled claims that Blake wasn't just managing a celebrity crisis anymore, she was calling in heavyweight political-style damage control.
And this guy was one of the group of 51 senior intelligence officers who signed the widely cited and subsequently criticized 2020 open letter stating that the Hunter Biden laptop has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information.
This is a man whose entire career is built on controlling media narratives and spinning reality until people don't know what to believe anymore. And Blake Lively? She hired him to clean up her mess. Now, let's talk about the irony for a second. For months, Blake ran to every tabloid, every journalist, every media outlet she could find, crying about how Justin Baldoni had hired a PR firm to help his case.
Blake Lively has now hired a crisis PR person, the same one who attempted to help cover up Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh my goodness, it's getting crazier.
She acted like it was the most sinister thing in the world, like it was some villainous move proving Baldoni was manipulative and corrupt. Then she turned around and hired the biggest, most powerful, most ethically questionable PR fixer on the planet. But she wasn't done yet, because what's the next step in the PR disaster control playbook? Buy off the media. And that's exactly what she tried to do.
Here is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing how she can do this, but when Justin does it, why is he hiring a PR team to defend himself?
Within weeks of hiring her CIA crisis handler, the New York Times allegedly began publishing suspiciously pro-Blake pieces, with headlines claiming legal wins, even though she wasn't winning, because in reality her subpoenas were denied, her legal strategy was unraveling, and her case simply wasn't holding up under scrutiny at that time.
That is now who Blake Lively is relying on, this crisis PR person.
But none of that mattered, because her PR team kept spinning headlines, desperately trying to rewrite reality. Unfortunately for them, Bond's team wasn't playing games. They called it out immediately and exposed exactly how the media was being actively manipulated publicly.
It's a win. That's exactly what I wanted. You wanted to waste the court's time? Why? Why are you wasting the judge's time? Tailored win so I can really get what I want, which is to talk to the people specifically. No, you didn't.
They dragged the entire shady operation into the spotlight, and suddenly all the fake PR wins started crumbling. Because at the end of the day, no amount of media spin can erase the facts. Blake Lively was losing, and Hollywood was taking notes.
Smear and destroy the reputations of people that they don't like, or people perhaps that their clients don't like. But the question is, who do they do that on behalf of?
Because when you fall from being one of the industry's most beloved actresses into a full-blown PR nightmare, hiring ex-CIA operatives to clean up your mess, people begin keeping their distance, and Blake found herself running out of anyone willing to defend her. If there were ever a real-life example of karma working overtime, it would be January 2025, when Ryanreynolds was officially pulled into the lawsuit, because after months of hiding behind sarcastic one-liners and Deadpool quips, believing he could joke his way out of accountability, reality finally came knocking, and it didn't just knock. It kicked the door down without warning whatsoever.
Torn by this because, yes, she's allowed to have one, but why were you criticizing Justin? So anything Justin does is retaliation? Anytime he defends himself, it's retaliation? Nonsense. And you're telling me, Blake, you didn't leak this out to try to make it look even more nefarious then, before you had your evidence when you stole the phone?
Because this is truth, Baldoni was not just suing Blake anymore. He was coming for Ryan too. And why? Because receipts were brutal. It turns out Ryan was not the clueless, supportive husband in the background while his wife played victim. No. He was an active player in the takedown of Justin Baldoni, a secret meeting in March 2024. Yes, it happened. And Ryan was right there in the middle of it at the table with Blake Sony. Executives and PR manipulators. He was not there to support his wife. He was there to make sure Baldoni was erased from Hollywood. This was never about justice. This was always about power.
This is so petty, because it's like, if he really did all the things you say was what to your wife, this just feels too.
And Ryanreynolds? He was willing to go full scorched earth to get it. He didn't just suggest Baldoni should be pushed out, he demanded it. Reports from Deadline's January 2025 article described Ryan's behavior in that meeting as aggressive and humiliating, not exactly the fun, lovable, king of Twitter persona he spent years crafting. Because when Ryan isn't performing for a camera, the real version of him isn't so funny anymore.
It turns out that Blake Lively was caught on tape talking about how she manipulates people around her in order to take control of the movies upon which she works. Oops!
And the worst part? Sony executives actually listened. Ryanreynolds was so hellbent on making sure Baldoni was completely removed from the project that he pressured Sony into locking him out of his own film. Baldoni, the guy who had been working on It Ends With Us for years, was suddenly cut out, blindsided, betrayed. And what was the end goal? To make sure Blake had full control over the film. Ryan wasn't protecting Blake. He was handing her a loaded weapon, making sure she had complete dominance over the project, and ensuring Baldoni had no say in how his own work was handled.
That's literally the accusation as to what happened. And then she went and complained about it by attacking him and trying to wreck him, because she apparently was at one point in a room with her, Ryan Reynolds, and Taylor Swift trying to bully Justinbaldoni.
And guess what? That move backfired spectacularly. By the time January 2025 rolled around, Baldoni wasn't just fighting for his career. He was fighting back legally. Civil extortion, invasion of privacy, abuse of power. Ryanreynolds was now named in the lawsuit. The same Ryan who had spent years carefully cultivating his Hollywood nice guy image was now being exposed for what he really was, an industry bully who used his power to sabotage another filmmaker. And Hollywood noticed.
If he was doing anything leaking, sounds like it was all in defense of himself. Because you were ready to come guns blazing to try to take him out and destroy him after trying to take over his movie.
Because if there's one thing Hollywood hates more than a scandal, it's a scandal that exposes how the game is actually played. Suddenly, Ryanreynolds wasn't so funny anymore. The industry turned on him. Studios started distancing themselves. Co-stars went silent. The same people who once lined up to praise him in interviews suddenly had nothing to say. Ryanreynolds, the golden boy of Hollywood, had officially become a PR liability. And Blake? She wasn't doing any better. At the same time Ryan was watching his reputation collapse, Blake's own downfall was accelerating at full speed. Studios were quietly backing away, and industry support was drying up faster than her PR team could spin it.
Sort of like Blake complaining that they're invading the privacy, they're doing all this, but then meanwhile, right, she's on Saturday Night Live with Ryan making jokes, hitting back. I mean, is it not a little hypocritical? Is this a bad look of her if she's trying to tell the courts that we should stop talking about this in public?
She and Ryan were no longer Hollywood's golden couple. They had become Hollywood's biggest joke. And the stories just kept getting worse. People weren't just talking about the lawsuit anymore. They were talking about everything. Former Gossip Girl cast members came forward with receipts that Blake tried to poison the set against Penn Badgley. Despicable and massively hypocritical. For years, she pretended they got along as co-stars, but behind the scenes, she was actively turning the crew against him, simply because he had the audacity to exist. Then there was It Ends With Us, Baldoni's original version, the one he spent years developing with Colleen Hoover, scored significantly higher in test screenings than Blake's version. But which version did Sony release? The Blake Lively disaster edit. Surprise, surprise, audiences hated it. The backlash was immediate because it was never about making a great film, it was about making a Blake Lively film. Suddenly, the public wasn't confused anymore. They could see exactly what had happened. Blake forced Baldoni out. Ryan helped sabotage his career, and they thought they could control the industry, rewrite the story, and come out as winners. But the public turned on them. Blake's subpoenas were denied.
Good for him is what I saw that says, yeah, good for him, he could use the help, just like Johnny did. But they tried to weaponize this against him.
Ryan was drowning in legal troubles, and now the very industry they tried to manipulate was cutting them off. Because if there's one thing Hollywood loves more than an A-list star, it's a spectacular downfall. And Blake and Ryan? They were officially out. The internet never forgets.
Despicable and a massive hypocrite.
For years,
Ryan thought he could joke his way through this. Blake thought she could outmaneuver Hollywood. Now, they're both drowning in the mess they created. And what made it even worse? Saturday Night Live played a huge role in their downfall. That night, when Colin Jost roasted them in front of millions, Hollywood took it as a green light to finally do what they had been wanting to do for months. Walk away from Blake and Ryan for good. Their reputation is beyond repair, and Hollywood has moved on. As for Justinbaldoni, He may have lost control of a movie, but in the long run, he won the war.